The movie opens by revealing that it's inspired by a true story from the Kuma cemetery in Çankırı, Turkey. According to the legend, a newborn baby and the baby's mother were buried in separate graves. But no matter how many times the graves were separated, they mysteriously merged back together. To this day, no one has been able to explain why. The story then cuts to a man sitting alone. He pours something from a bottle into a bowl and drinks it. Within seconds, he starts coughing up blood. Before anyone can help him, he collapses and dies. The scene shifts to a woman named Hikran, who is desperately trying to calm her crying baby boy, Birol. At the same time, Adnan is at work in a hotel, asking one of his coworkers why he showed up late. The coworker explains that he worked the night shift and was so exhausted that he slept through his alarm. Adnan tells him to arrange blankets for room 207 before walking away. Back at home, Hikran finally manages to soothe Birol. She takes him to the bedroom, leaves him playing with his toys, and heads to the kitchen. Meanwhile, Adnan leaves the hotel and calls her. Hikran tells him that Birol has been crying non-stop since morning, but has finally settled down. Adnan says he's already on his way home. A few moments later, while Hikran is busy in the kitchen, the cabinet next to Birol begins shaking on its own. Without warning, it tips over and crashes down on top of him. Hearing the loud noise, Hikran rushes into the room. She desperately tries to lift the heavy cabinet while screaming her son's name in panic. The story jumps ahead 3 months. Hikran is now at Kuma cemetery, quietly brushing dried leaves off Birol's grave. The loss has destroyed her family. Adnan blames Hikran for their son's death. Consumed by grief and anger, he tells her that no woman like her should ever become a mother. Those words completely shatter Hikran. Through tears, she says that if she had known what was about to happen, she would never have left Birol alone. She can't stop blaming herself. Sitting in the very room where her son died, she apologizes over and over, begging for forgiveness. As she breaks down, 2 dark shadowy figures silently appear inside the room. At the hotel, Adnan watches an old video of Birol on his phone and quietly cries, unable to accept that his son is gone. At the same time, Hikran hugs Birol's old toys and weeps. Just then, Adnan suddenly walks into the house. He tells Hikran that he met his brother on the way home and says he was happy because Adnan named his son after him. Then he casually asks, "Where's Birol?" Before Hikran can even respond, someone knocks on the front door. She walks over and hears Adnan's voice coming from outside. Confused, she turns around and realizes that the Adnan who had been standing inside the house has completely vanished. She slowly opens the door, and the real Adnan walks in as if nothing happened. The following day, Hikran tells Ainur everything that's been happening. After listening carefully, Ainur asks how long ago Adnan's brother died. Hikran explains that about 15 years earlier, Adnan's older brother, who was also named Birol, was killed in a tragic accident. To honor his memory, they later gave the same name to their own son. Ainur suggests that Hikran visit a respected spiritual healer named Abdullah Hoka to help her overcome her severe depression. But Hikran instantly snaps at the idea and refuses to hear another word about him. She says that ever since her little son was buried in the cold ground, she refuses to sleep with a blanket at night because she wants to feel the same cold he does. Every single day, she still washes his clothes as if he's coming home. The story then shifts to Nevro's village, where 2 women are seen praying. At the same time, Hikran is walking home when she notices an old cabinet by the roadside. Behind it, 2 strange women are silently standing and staring at her. She blinks, and they're gone. Terrified, Hikran quietly prays to Allah for protection from evil forces before hurrying away. That night, the nightmare gets even worse. Hikran sees those same women again, but this time they're performing something horrifying. They rip open another woman's stomach and pull a baby out of her body. Just as the terrifying vision reaches its peak, Adnan suddenly appears, and everything instantly returns to normal, as if nothing ever happened. Back in Nevro's village, a woman complains to her mother-in-law that even after spending 35 years in the family, she has never been treated with the same kindness everyone shows Hikran. Meanwhile, Hikran washes little Birol's clothes and hangs them outside to dry. She begs Adnan to talk to her, but he remains completely silent. Heartbroken, she visits her son's grave, apologizes through tears, talks about how cold the winter has become, and desperately begs him to come back to her. While standing there, she once again spots the same two mysterious women watching her from a distance. Panic takes over, and she quickly leaves the cemetery. That night, Hikran returns home only to find that Birol's clothes have mysteriously disappeared from the clothesline. She rushes upstairs and realizes that all of his toys are gone as well. Suddenly, something that looks like a small child darts across the room. Frightened beyond words, Hikran runs outside, only to discover that Birol's clothes have somehow reappeared on the clothesline as if they had never vanished. The next day, Aner finally convinces Hikran to visit Abdullah Hoka. After welcoming her inside, Hoka asks Aner to wait outside. He tells Hikran to write her name 3 times on a sheet of paper. Then he pricks her finger, smears a drop of her blood onto the paper, folds it, places it inside a glass of water, recites protective prayers over it, blows into the glass, and gives the water to a young boy sitting beside him to drink. When Hoka asks about her condition, Hikran explains that the supernatural events have become far more intense over the past week, although she's sensed strange things ever since she was a child. To comfort her, Abdullah Hoka reminds her of the story of Hazrat Sumayya, R.A., the first female martyr in Islam, who endured Abu Jahl's brutal torture but never abandoned her faith. He explains that evil exists in this world because it tests the strength of people's belief and goodness. He then begins chanting mysterious spiritual words in an unfamiliar language, attempting to communicate with the unseen world. During the ritual, the young boy quietly walks over to him. Once the ceremony is finished, Hoka sends the boy away and expresses his sympathy for Hikran's deceased son, telling her that the innocent child will surely be granted paradise by Allah. Finally, Hoka asks about her relationship with her aunt. Hikran reveals that after her father's death, a bitter land dispute caused her mother and aunt to cut off all contact. She also admits that she never really knew her father because he took his own life when she was still very young. After listening carefully, Abdullah Hoka reveals the terrifying truth. He believes Hikran has become the victim of an ancient and extremely powerful form of black magic, known as the 41 Knot spell, one of the darkest and most dangerous curses imaginable. Pulling off this kind of black magic is impossible unless it's done by a ruthless master sorcerer, someone powerful enough to call upon evil jinn from the depths of hell. Hikran desperately wants to know who would do something so horrific to her and why. Hoka tells her the curse came from someone within her own family, an aunt who has always been consumed by jealousy. He promises to help, but warns that until they uncover the true purpose behind the spell, breaking this deadly curse is impossible. He tells Hikran to keep her faith in God and find the strength to stand against the dark forces haunting her. Before she leaves, Abdullah Hoka asks her to hang the blessed Ayatul Kursi back on the wall of her home for protection. After returning home, Hikran is busy sewing when she suddenly witnesses a horrifying vision. A woman is brutally cutting out another woman's tongue. The terrifying image disappears as quickly as it appears. That same night, Hikran rushes to her mother's house. Her mother is shocked to see her arrive so late. Hikran immediately hugs her grandmother tightly, prays that all of her worship is accepted, and explains why she came. She says she dreamed that both of them were suffering from a terrible illness, and the nightmare frightened her so much that she couldn't stay away. Her family reassures her that they're completely fine. Later, Hikran asks her mother about her aunt. Her mother explains that they barely keep in touch anymore, and reveals that the aunt has been diagnosed with breast cancer. When Hikran asks about Aunt Zara and why her husband took his own life, her mother grows emotional. She explains that Zara's husband lost everything they owned because of his gambling addiction. After becoming an alcoholic, he committed an unthinkable crime. He murdered Zara and their 2 young children before taking his own life. Her mother says she's been carrying the weight of that tragedy for the past 25 years. Hikran then learns that the 2 innocent children, Gulbahar and Gulzar, were only 9 and 4 years old. Feeling guilty for bringing back such painful memories, Hikran apologizes and says she'll call Adnan to let him know she's there. Hikran calls Adnan, but the moment he sees her name on his phone, he chooses not to answer. Heartbroken, Hikran hugs her grandmother and finally breaks down. She confesses that losing her son, Birol, still destroys her every single day. Not for a single moment can she forget him, and she feels like she's been punishing herself ever since. Through tears, she asked her grandmother how she survived the pain of losing a child. She wonders if staying silent really makes grief any easier to bear. Listening to her daughter's pain, Hikran's mother can't hold back her own tears. That night while sleeping, Hikran's mother suddenly feels something is terribly wrong. She wakes up in panic and sees her pillow soaking in blood. Even more horrifying, it looks as if something is crawling out from inside it. Then, in the blink of an eye, everything returns to normal, leaving her terrified and confused. The next morning at the hotel reception, a woman asks Adnan for a favor. She needs to visit the dentist and asks if he can watch her young son, Arda, for a little while. Adnan agrees and gently picks the little boy up in his arms. After thanking him, the boy's mother leaves. At the same time, Hikran says goodbye to her mother and heads home. Meanwhile, Adnan becomes lost in emotion. Looking at Arda, he begins imagining that the child is his late son, Birol, and showers him with affection. But the illusion shatters the moment Arda's father arrives and calls out to his son. Reality hits Adnan all at once, reminding him that Birol is gone forever. Hikran travels to the village of Nevruz and meets an elderly man named Cevdet. She introduces herself and asks if he knows anything about her Aunt Zara. Cevdet tells her that Zara left the village 15 to 20 years ago, and no one has known where she went ever since. Meanwhile, Adnan returns home from work and takes something out of a drawer. He walks to his son Birol's grave and plays some old videos of him. Watching the memories overwhelms him with grief. Unable to bear the pain any longer, Adnan pulls out a gun and takes his own life. A little later, Hikran tries calling Adnan, but by then it's already too late. Still searching for answers, Hikran asks a young woman about her Aunt Zara. The girl immediately warns her to stay away, saying Zara's house is cursed and haunted by jinn. According to local rumors, the evil presence drove Zara's husband insane. He murdered his wife and their 2 daughters, and ever since then, no shaman has ever managed to enter the house alive. Even after giving that terrifying warning, the girl points Hikran toward the abandoned house. As the girl walks away, Hikran notices the same 2 mysterious women silently standing right behind her. They disappear as quickly as they appear, leaving Hikran deeply unsettled. Hikran finally arrives at Zara's house. From the outside, it already looks abandoned and filled with darkness. The moment she steps inside, the front door slams shut behind her on its own. The sudden noise frightens her, but she gathers her courage and keeps moving. As soon as she enters the bedroom, she catches a glimpse of her aunt's 2 daughters standing behind her. Then the blanket on the bed suddenly starts moving by itself. When Hikran pulls it back, she finds nothing but an old doll lying underneath. At that exact moment, her uncle slowly walks toward her. Terrified, Hikran grabs the doll and rushes out of the house. That night, she returns home. Her mother tells her she had been worried because Hikran wasn't answering her phone, but Hikran brushes it off with an excuse. Claiming she has a headache, she goes straight to her bedroom. Once alone, Hikran carefully examines the strange doll. Just then, her mother comes in with a new pillow. Hikran asks if they have any old photographs of Aunt Zara. Her mother tells her to look through the family's old photo cabinet. While searching through the pictures, Hikran eventually falls asleep. In her dream, every terrifying event she's experienced flashes before her, and she suddenly wakes up screaming. Her mother comforts her and tells her to get some rest before leaving to perform her prayers. As Hikran's mother enters her mother-in-law's room to get her prayer clothes, she suddenly hears a woman crying from inside the wardrobe, begging, "Please, give me back my son." Shaking with fear, she slowly opens the wardrobe, but it's completely empty. The moment she closes it and turns around, the voice returns, this time sounding even more furious. "You stole my child, and you've hidden him from me." Terrified, she opens the wardrobe again. This time, Zara and her 2 daughters are standing inside, staring directly at her. At that exact moment, Hikran walks into the room. When Hikran asks her mother if everything is okay, she insists that nothing is wrong. The next morning, Hikran says goodbye to her grandmother and gets ready to head back home. She tells her family that she still can't reach Adnan. His phone has been switched off and she's becoming more worried by the minute. Her mother begs her to stay a little longer, but Hikran promises she'll return soon. As soon as she gets back, Hikran goes straight to Adnan's hotel and speaks with his co-worker Simil. She explains that Adnan isn't answering his phone and that it's been turned off. Unfortunately, Simil has no idea where Adnan is or what could have happened to him. When Hikran finally returns home, she suddenly hears Birol crying. She rushes into the bedroom and is horrified to see her aunt sitting beside Birol's cradle. Her aunt quietly tells her that she was once expecting a son of her own. Terrified,